Yeah, hello everyone. Is my voice audible, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in last session we have started with React routing, right? So we have started with React routing. And yesterday we have done the installation, right? Installation part. We have seen how to install basically React router DOM. So React router DOM is a package, or you can call it as a library to implement routing in React application. And what is the command we have used to install this particular React routing in our application? Have you guys remembered the command?
npm install react router DOM.
npm install space react router-DOM. So this is the command we have to use to install this React router DOM in our application. And to check whether this package is got installed or not, for that you can just go to the package.json file, and under dependencies you can check that name you got it or not. If you got this name, it means that package got installed inside your application. Now where that package is kept? That package is kept under node_modules folder. So all these packages are under node_modules folder. Now we have to implement routing. So to implement routing, we have to do certain configuration. Okay, let's try to understand how to do those configuration. So basically, this React router DOM is providing us some predefined components and hooks. As I have mentioned in the last session, React router DOM is providing us some predefined components and hooks. One of the component is browser router. So browser router is a component created by React router DOM. So the first step what we have to do is we have to wrap parent component of the application. We have to wrap parent component of the application inside the browser router component. Inside the browser router component, we have to wrap our app component. Basically, in our case, parent component is an app component. So we have to wrap our app component inside the browser router component. This is the first thing what we have to do. So how to do this? For that, you can go back to your index main.js file. This is main.jsx file basically. Inside this main.jsx file, here we are rendering our app component. So here, first you have to import something from React router DOM. So from this React router DOM, you have to import a predefined component called browser router. Now, once you have imported it, second, you have to wrap your app component inside the browser router component. This is what we have to do. This is the first step what we have to implement. I will go back here and I will paste that screenshot. So first, you have to import your browser router from React Router DOM. Then you have to wrap your app component. You have to just wrap your app component inside the browser router component. This is the first configuration we have to do. Second configuration. Change the browser URL. Change the browser URL. Or we can say change the browser URL path. Change the browser URL path based on click of, or we can say change the browser URL path on click of any link. Click of any link. So now what we have to do? We have to change the browser URL path on click of any link. So if I go back to my application, now here I have some links like home, products, counter, image count. So now my requirement is I want to change this URL path. Right now the path is simply slash. After this port number, whatever you will find, that is your URL path. After the port number, whatever you will find, that is the URL path. Right now, if you don't have anything after that your port number, it means there is a slash. There is a slash. So it's like an empty URL path right now. So whenever there is an empty URL path, okay, we wanted to show some component here. But before that, first of all, we have to learn how to change this URL path. So if I click on products, then I want my URL path should be slash product. Like this, I want my URL path should be. If I click on counter, then my URL path should change to slash count. It should be like this. If I click on image comp, then my URL path should change to something like image comp. If I click on home, then again my URL path should be like a empty. It should be like this or like this. So we have to learn how to change this URL path. So to change this URL path, it's very easy. For that, we have to go to this nav component. In that nav component, we have created all our anchor tags. These are all our anchor tags. These are all our links. Now, if you click on product, now what should be your URL path? What should be your URL path that you can configure here? Suppose if I say here slash products. In this case, what happens now, whenever I click on this product, my URL path will be slash products. So if you come back here, if I refresh, now see, the moment I click on this, I got here slash products. In the same way, if I click on this counter, I want my URL path should be slash counter. So whatever you want your URL path should be, that you can configure here. In the same way, whenever I click on home, it should be like this empty, only slash. And whenever I click on this image comp, it should be slash image comp. So whatever things you will configure here, exactly that part will be changing in the URL. So all these are your URL paths. Your URL paths. So if you go back here, if I click on image comp, I got here image comp. If I click on home, there is nothing, means there is a slash. If I click on products, counter, and image comp. So you have to just change your URL path on click of these links. How to do that? For that, you have to configure your URL path to the href attribute. So change the browser URL path on click of any link. How to do that? For that, add URL paths to the href attribute of the anchor tag. That's it. So whatever path you will add to your href attribute, your URL path is going to change to that particular path whenever you click on certain link. This is the second configuration what we have to do. So I will just take the example of these two anchor tags and I will paste here. So this is your URL path. Okay, here I can just add and I can say that this one and this one are the URL paths. URL path. This is the second step. Third step, we have to configure route now. Third step is configure route. Now configuring route is nothing but now based on your URL path, you have to render the component. Based on your URL path, we have to render the component. If the URL path is image comp, we have to show here image component. If the URL path is counter, we have to show counter component. If the URL path is products, we have to show products component. If URL path is slash, then we have to show home component. So based on the URL path, we have to show our component on the screen, or based on URL path, we have to render the component. Okay, that is what we call as a configuring the route. So what we have to do here now, based on the URL path, render the component. Render means call the component. If you call the component, then only that component will be visible on the screen. So based on URL path, render the component. So to do this, we have to configure the route. So for this, React DOM is providing us, React Router DOM is providing us one predefined component called route. So what you can do, you can go to the app.jsx file. That part we can configure here, because here only we are calling all our components, right? So right now I will remove all this. The moment I remove all that, right now on your screen, you will be able to see only nav bar. Only nav bar will be there. Why? Because you're rendering only nav bar. Now after nav bar, whatever components you will render here, that should be based on your URL path. So for that, we have to import something from React Router DOM. Now, what is that something? That is route component. That is route component. Remember, the name of the component is route. Now, this route component we can render here. Route component. Now, this route component will take two props. This route component will take two props. The first props is path. Second props is element. Your route component will take two props. First props is path, second props is element. In the path props, we have to mention our URL path. So here I will say in string format, whenever my URL path is slash, whenever my URL path is slash, in that case, you have to render home component. So under element, we will add the component rendering logic. And in the path, we will assume, okay, in my browser URL, if the path is slash, which component you have to render. Like this, you have to add multiple routes based on how many routings you want to create. Right now we have 4 links. So for 4 links, I will create. Whenever in my browser path is slash products, you have to render products component. Whenever in my browser path is slash counter, you have to render counter component. Whenever in my browser your URL path is slash image comp, then you have to render image component. So remember, this path values should be equal to your href values. Whatever values you are adding in href, that values should be equals to this path props values. Why? Because of your href, only your browser URL path is changing. And based on your browser URL path, here we are rendering the components. That's why this values should be equal to your href attributes. So this is your third step. So based on URL path, we have to render the component. So here we are doing that configuration. Now, fourth step, wrap all the route component inside the routes component. Inside the routes component. Okay. Now what we have to do is we have to wrap our route component inside the routes component. Inside the routes component. This is the fourth step what we have to do. It means we have to import routes component from React router DOM. So just add comma import routes component. Save it and come back here. Now wrap all this route. We have to wrap inside the routes. Okay, so be careful with these two components. This is just a route component. It is a routes component. That's it. These are the 4 minimum steps we have to do to implement routing in our React application. So if I just go back here and if I just add here, done. Now if you go back to your application, now see on this screen, you are able to see only home component. There is no other component here, just home component we have. So if I just go back to my home component, if I want, I can just add some more content here. Okay, I will just add some paragraph. I will say lorem 400. Some random paragraph I am adding. And this style attribute, we will try to add. I mean, this color we will remove from here. And we will add to only H2. Here we got like this. Okay, after paragraph, if you want, you can just add here break statement. Here also one break statement. So we got like this. This is our home component. Now if I click on products, now I got here products component. If I click on counter, I got counter component. If I click on image comp, I got here image component. So if you click on Angular, React, Angular, React. So now we are not showing all the component at same time. Initially, whenever our application loads, okay, whenever you access your application, it will just show you the home component. That's it. Nav component, home component. Now nav component is visible everywhere. Why? Because we are rendering nav component directly here. Nav component we are rendering here. After that only we are implementing routing part. So nav component will be always visible on the screen, and we want that only. If nav component is not visible, then we cannot click on links. So that's why we are not adding this nav component inside our routing part. So now here you can do this. We have implemented. But here there is one problem. What is that problem means? Whenever you are visiting a new link, your page is reloading. Now just observe this refresh button. There will be some movement here. So your page is reloading here. So with React, we are creating single page applications, and single page applications should not reload. Should not reload. If you reload your application, then you will lose the current state of your application. You will lose the current state or current data, whatever you are showing on the screen. After doing some actions, that data you will lose. That's why we have to restrict this part. So we should not reload our page whenever we visit any kind of link here, any kind of link. So how to restrict? How to restrict this reload part? So for that, React Router DOM is providing us one solution. So what React Router DOM is saying us, simply replace all your anchor tags with the link component. So what we have to do here is we have to replace all the anchor tag with link component, and we have to replace href attribute href attribute with href attribute with two props So replace all anchor tag with link component and replace href attribute with two props This is what we have to do. So now I can go back to my nav.jsx because here I have all my anchor tags. So first you have to import link component from React Router DOM. You have to import link component. Now you have to replace all these anchor tags. We have to replace with link component. Now see, I have replaced all my anchor tags with the link component. And this href, you have to replace with two props. That's it. With two props. There will be no change in the UI, but there will be change in the functionality. Now see, the moment I click on home, it will load very fast. And if you see, there will be no movement here. How fast it is loading. And here, if you see, there is no movement. It means there is no reloading of your page. Reloading of your page. So here I can go back. I can just copy this part and I can paste here. This is the fifth step what we have to do. You have to replace all your anchor tags with link component and href attribute with two props. So these are the minimum things what we have to do to implement routing in our React applications. Now, what is single page application? Anybody knows what is single page application? Okay, whenever you are developing any web application, you can develop web application in two ways, using multi-page approach, using single page approach. So the application that you develop using single page approach is called single page application. Application that you develop using multi-page approach, such applications are called multi-page application. So what is the difference between them means in single page application, in our browser, we will load only single HTML document. And the content of that document, we will change dynamically using some JavaScript APIs. Like you can use React, Angular, Vue, or you can use plain JavaScript as well. So any application which loads single HTML document in the browser and it changes its content or data dynamically using any JavaScript API. Such applications are called single page applications. So any application which loads a single HTML document okay, any application which loads a single HTML document in the browser, in the browser, and its content is changed dynamically. And its content is changed dynamically using any JavaScript APIs like React, Angular, Vue, or using plain JavaScript. Plain JavaScript. Now, such applications are called single page applications. Such applications are called single page applications. Now, single page applications are very fast compared to your multi-page applications. In multi-page applications, you will have multiple HTML documents which you are going to load in your browser. Each and every time whenever user requests any kind of page. So based on user actions, you will remove some pages, you will load another pages. You will remove some pages, you will load another pages. But in single page application, we are going to load only single HTML document in the browser. And its content is changed dynamically using any JavaScript APIs like React, Angular, Vue, or using your plain JavaScript as well. Now the examples of the applications which are single page. Your Gmail, Gmail is one of the example. Instagram, Airbnb. Then we have Netflix. Okay, we have GitLabs, etc., etc. There are so many applications which are single page applications. So if you see Gmail, Instagram, Airbnb, or GitLabs, even whenever you visit any kind of links, your page will not reload. Your page will never reload. So this Gmail is developed by Google, right? So they have internally used Angular. Instagram, Airbnb, and Netflix, all these are developed using React. And we have GitLabs, which is developed using Vue.js. Vue.js. So like this, you can use different frameworks or libraries to develop this single page applications. Now here, React and Angular is taking care of developing this single page applications, and manually they are, dynamically they are changing the content. So as a developer, we are not writing any code for getting this single page app behavior. But if you use plain JavaScript, then you have to write your own code for that. First, you have to write the code for developing your application. Then you have to write the code for making it as a single page application. So it will be more burden for us. That is the reason we are using frameworks and libraries as well, which will help us to do all this task. So these are the minimum things what you guys have to do to implement routing in our React applications.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So that means all the applications which we develop with React and Angular are single page applications. So we
Yes.
cannot multi-page applications with React and Angular.
No, all these are single page applications.
Which technologies normally we have to use for multi-page
You
applications?
can use plain normal HTML, CSS, and JavaScript.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thanks.
So by default, all your React Angular creates single page applications only. So only single document will be loaded in our browser. That is the reason if you see in our entire application, we have only one HTML file, that is index.html. And this is the only file which is loading in our browser. Okay. So this is what we have to do. Next, you have to know about nested routing, how to implement nested routing. Okay, let's suppose in my products component, I'm creating something like this UI. Now on this left side, let's assume that you have some links here. like electronics, maybe jewelry, maybe you have men's clothing, and here you have women's clothing. Now let's assume that this kind of UI we have created inside the products component. So whenever my product component loads, I want to show this kind of UI. Now, if I click on electronics, here I want to load electronics component. If I click on jewelry, here I want to load jewelry component. If I click on men's clothing, here I want to load men's clothing component. If I click on this women's clothing, then here I want to load women's clothing component. So inside the products component, again we are doing the routing. It's like a nested routing. So how to implement this nested routing? Let's try to understand. So for this, what we have to do, first of all, we have to get this kind of structure. So I will go to my products component. Okay, right now I will remove this paragraph from here. I will remove this style from here. So it's a normal products component right now. If I go back here, I got here products component. Now in this products component, let me just take one div. So this div, I will consider like this container. Now inside this div, I want two columns like this. So for that, what we can do is for creating two columns, I will take two more divs. So I will say here class name as a left, or here I will say something like links container. And here I will take one more div. I will just use some class name like components container. And here I will just add here some class name like products container. Now inside this products container, I want to make this links container and components container as a two columns. So for that, I can just simply use my flex concept. I can say here products container display flex. Here I will decrease the width to something like 1000 pixel. Okay, right now I will add some height here like 400 pixel and some box shadow 10 pixel. We will add something like green and margin some 50 pixel from top and bottom. So let's see whether we have linked this CSS file or not. We did not link. So here import something that is products.css. Now if I go back here, I got this kind of structure. Now see here we got this container. Now for this, we can just add some style. Here I can say text align center and margin top some 20 pixel so that it looks like this. And here color also I will add it green. And here let's take H1. it gives us this kind of UI. Now here already we have made it flex container. So the moment you make this as a flex container, now these two divs are like a flex items. And by default, those flex items will display in the row direction. So what we can do here is I can just add links container and I can add components container. So here we got links container, components container. Here I will just say links, and here I will just add right now dummy like components. Now here we can add some background color like red. I will add here some background color red. Here I will add black. So it looks like this now. Here we have links and components. Now we want these two divs should occupy this entire container. So for that, we will use width here. I will say width 30%. And here, let me use width to 70%. Let's see how it looks. We got something like this. Okay, now here in this black color div, so I will just remove this red color. So it looks like this now. So here what we want is, here we want some 4 links we want here. We want here 4 links. So to create that links, we will use our link component from React router DOM. Link component. Now here we want to add links. So we will use this link component. And here right now I will add 2 props. Nothing I will give. And simply I will say here electronics. And like this, I want some 4 links. So here I will say jewelry. And when it comes to here, men's clothing. And here women's clothing. So if you come back here, you got this 4 links. Now all these are links displaying one beside another. So what I will do for this links container, I will make it as a display flex. Display flex. And I will change the flex direction to the column so that they will display one after another, not one beside another. They are displaying one after another. This is because of flex direction. If I don't add this flex direction, they will display in the same row, one beside another. But we don't want one beside another, we want one after another. So we can just change it to flex direction. Now we want exactly in the center. So align items center, I will say. The moment I say align items center, they came exactly in the center. Now I want there should be equal space between each and every link. I want to generate equal space between each and every link. So all these are flex items. So we can use justify content as a space evenly. So we got like this. Now we can change this link component style. So here if I just add a style and if I say color to be white then here you will get that color as a white. I can remove text decoration, none. So the text decoration will be none, and font size we can increase to some 17 pixel. So I'm just adding color property, text decoration property, and font size property. And if you go back here, we got like this. Let's try to increase a little bit font size. Let me make it 21 pixel and let's see how it looks. It looks like this. Now same styles, this same styles you can add for all the link tag. Now you will get like this. So you got electronics, jewelry, men's clothing, women's clothing. Now our requirement is if I click on electronics, electronics component should load here. We should be in the products component only and it should load here. Okay. Now, right now we don't have that electronics component. So what I will do inside these components, we have already products, right? We have products component. Under products component, I will create one subfolder. Something like categories. In that categories, I will create some more subfolder like electronics. I will create one more subfolder like jewelry. I will create one more subfolder like men's clothing. I will create one more subfolder like women's clothing. Now inside all these subfolders, we have to create components. So inside electronic subfolder, I will create electronics.jsx. Okay. So what I did, just inside my products folder, I created one subfolder called categories. Under categories subfolder, I created four subfolders: electronics, jewelry, men's, women's. Now inside electronics folder, I am creating electronics.jsx file. And here I am creating simply one functional component. Here something like H2, I will say electronics component. Now in the same way, under jewelry also, I will create one file here, jewelry.jsx. Here also I will create one jewelry component. Just right now I am adding just simple H. Jewelry component. Now if you go back here, okay, we got electronic, we got jewelry component. Now inside our products component, we have that links, right? We have here 4 links. Now tell me, if I want to show electronics component, what changes I need to do here? What changes I need to do? So right now we are in the products component. Suppose I want to show here electronic component. If I click on this, I want to show electronic component. So what we need to do?
We need to use route and call render electronics component.
Use route. Let's use route. So when a component
Need to
will be
import.
on the screen, so when your components will be visible on the screen,
We need to import electronics component.
okay. Where we have to import?
App.js file.
Okay. Then
After that, we need to add routes inside that link. We need to add.
Okay. So basically, see, just understand the concept. My question was, here I want to load electronic component. I did not say here. I am saying here. On my screen, I want to show electronic component. So when we can show electronic component, whenever we render that electronic component. Now, when we want to render electronic component, if I click on this link, okay, so whenever you click on this link, first you change your URL path. And based on that URL path, you render the component. So for this, what we need to do? First, we have to go to this link. Here we have two props. Now you decide what should be your URL path because you are developing it. I am saying that my URL path should be /electronics. So now the moment I click on this link, if you see, this URL path should change. Now see, URL path got changed. URL path got changed, but here is, we are not displaying any component here. Why we are not displaying any, like why the component is not displayed here? Because right now, based on whatever configuration you have done for your route, so that route is not matching with any kind of path here. So right now your browser URL path is /electronic. Now this /electronics is not matching with any path here. It is not matching with this path. 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 If it is not matching with any path, in that case, it will just show the empty screen here. But what we wanted to show electronics component. So for that, what we can do, we can simply create one route here. Path equals to, whenever /electronics you will get, you have to render which component? You have to render here electronics component. Here we are not getting suggestion. So in that case, simply import that. Components, under that we have products, under that we have categories, under that we have electronics, then electronics. So now we have to render here that electronics component. Now save it. The moment you save it, now see, you got electronics component. See, if I click on home, I got home. If I click on products, I got products. The moment I click on electronics, now product component will be removed and it will show electronics component. That products component is removed and it is showing us electronics component. Okay. Now why we got electronics component? Because we have configured that route here. So we are saying that in our browser URL, whenever the path is /electronics, you render electronics component. That's why you got here electronics component. But this is what we don't want. What we want is, we want to be inside the products component only. And here we want to load that electronics component. So there are two things. First, you should not remove this products component. Second, that new electronics component you have to load here. Exactly here you have to load. So the first thing is, let's see why this product component is getting removed. If I click on this electronics, why this component is getting removed? This component is getting removed because your URL path is getting changed. So this /products is removed from your URL path. See, the moment I click on this, there is no /products. That's why that products component is removed. And this new URL path, that is /electronics, it is replacing your old path, that is /products. So what we want to do is, we don't want to lose this path. We don't want to lose this path. Now, if I click on this electronics, that new path should be added to this existing path. Right now, the existing path is slash products. The moment I click on electronics, right now, my new path, slash electronics is a new path. It is replacing slash products. It is replacing slash products. But what I want is, if I click on this electronics, that slash electronics should be added to this current path. So it should be added like this, slash electronics. So if I add that new path to my current path, in that case, I will not lose this products component. So how to add that new path to the current path instead of replacing? For that, what you have to do, you have to go to that electronics link. This is our electronics link. Whenever we click on this electronics, we want this path should be added to the existing path. So to add this path to the existing path, we have to just remove this slash. Don't start with this slash. Directly add your path. If you start with slash, in that case, this path will replace your existing path. If you don't start with slash, in this case, this path will be added to the existing path. It will be just added to the existing path. Just see here. For jewelry, I will do like this. Slash jewelry I will do. Okay, here I am starting with slash. Here I am not starting with slash. I will save it. Now let me go back here. Let me click on home. We are in the home. Let me click on products. We are in the products. Now I will click on electronics. So for electronics, we are not starting with this slash. The moment I click on that electronics, see, it is adding to my existing path. But here again, we are losing that component. Now, how we should protect that part means, for this, what we have to do now, we have to go to that route. Now, this route, this electronic route, we have to remove from here. We have to add inside the product route. Now, this is our product route. This we are using like a self-closing tag. Instead of self-closing tag, we have to use like opening tag and closing tag. Now, this is our products route. And that sub route, we have to add inside this. We have to add inside this. Now, if I go back here, let me see if any issue here. Here also, we should not start because I told you, right? So this should be similar to your href attribute. So right now, instead of href, we are using 2 props. So this value should be equals to 2 props. Now, if I click on products, we are in the products. If I click on electronics, the path is slash products slash electronics. So we are not losing products component now. We are not losing products component now. But here still we are not loading that electronics component. Now we have to load our electronics component. This electronics component we have to load, but exactly where you want to load inside this products. So for that, what we have to do is we want to load here. Here we want to load. So if you want to load any component inside your another component, in that case, you have to use here outlet component, which is coming from React router DOM. So outlet is like a container which will hold your sub components. Outlet is like a container. Outlet is like a container which will hold your sub components. Now this outlet component is a predefined component, again, which is coming from React router DOM. So React router DOM is giving us one container in the form of outlet container or outlet component. This outlet component is used to hold your sub-components. So basically using this outlet component, we are telling that our sub-components should be loaded here inside this outlet container. Now, if I go back here, I got electronics component. If I click on jewelry, it will replace your existing path because we have started its path with slash. But if I click on products, right now we are in the slash products, we are in the products component. But the moment I click on electronics, that electronic components will load here. The same thing we have to do for jewelry also. So for jewelry, what we will do? First, we will change that link. So here, path should not start with slash. It should start with without slash. This is the first thing. Second, you have to go to the app.js. You have to add one more route inside this products route. You have to say here jewelry now. And which component you want to load? I want to load here import jewelry from components, products, categories, jewelries, jewelry. Here, I want to load jewelry component. Now, if you go back here, if I click on this, I got jewelry. Electronics, jewelry. Same thing you have to do with men's clothing and women's clothing. That you guys can try. Understood this nested part? Initially, we have used like a self-closing tag, but for implementing nested routes, we are using it like a opening tag and closing tag. Under that, again, we are defining sub-routes. So whenever the path is slash products slash electronics, in that case, you have to show products component and you have to show electronics component. Whenever path is slash products slash jewelry, in that case, you have to show products and you have to show jewelry. This is how we implement nested route. Okay. So in tomorrow's session, we will study more about, we will explore some more concepts of this routing part. Yeah, if you have any doubts, let me know. In case if you don't have any doubts, yeah, you guys can drop, just go and practice. If you get any kind of doubts, let me know in tomorrow's session. So practice it, guys. Today itself, you have to practice this part.
Yesterday's one is not yet there in the videos.
Yesterday's
Yesterday's
video is
class.
not updated.
Yeah.
For that, you have to connect with admin. Okay, they will help you. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Because they will take care of that updating videos on the portal. So just connect with them in case if it is not updated. Just ask them what is the issue.
Okay.
Is it everyone is not able to access yesterday's session?
I'm able to access it.
No, I'm also not able to access.
Okay, just check, guys. Some people are able to access, some people are not able to access. Okay, just check with the admin. So in our WhatsApp group, we have admin numbers, right? So directly you can post your queries in your WhatsApp group. So they will reply back. New GitHub link. Just a minute.